Bore da pawb, bore da Llysgennad. Good morning, ambassadors. I'll just give everyone a moment to join in. You can see people coming through. Bore da, bore da. Good morning. Bore da pawb. I can still see a few people coming through. Bore da. Bore da pawb a chroeso i'r Wythnos Llysgennad Cymru cyntaf yn hanes y cynllun. Good morning to you all, ambassadors, and welcome to the first ever Wales Ambassador Week. We're really excited to have you all here, and we're excited to start the week off with this great event this morning with lots of speakers and lots of great information. Bore da pawb, dwi dal yn gweld rhai pobl yn dod I fewn. I'm still seeing a few people coming in. However, in a moment, I will switch over to start speaking in Welsh, and some of our speakers today will also be speaking in Welsh. So if you do need an English translation, can you please switch on the interpretation system for yourself now? You should be able to see that at the bottom of the screen. So there will be a globe icon at the bottom of the screen which says interpretation. If you can go down to the globe icon now and choose English, please, if you do need interpretation. You just need to leave that on for the remainder of the webinar. And if we're speaking in English, you'll hear us. And if we're speaking in Welsh, you'll hear the translation coming over the English, over the Welsh then. So I'll just give you a second in case anybody else needs to choose the interpretation icon at the bottom of the screen. It's a globe icon, and there is an opportunity to choose English in that globe icon. So please do that now. Gobeithio mae pob dim yn gweithio I chi. A croeso cynnes I chi gyd bore yma. Mae'r Parc Genedlaethol yn yr un falch iawn o hostio'r digwyddiad yma heddiw. Dyn ni yn hapus iawn I gweld chi gyd a clywed chi gyd, clywed gennych chi. Mae gennym ni agenda reit llawn, fel ydych chi'n gweld ar y sgrin yma, peth cyntaf bore yma. Os ydych chi eisiau ofyn cwestiwn yn ystod y sesiwn heddiw, mae'n digon bosib I wneud. Fyddwch chi'n gweld Q&A box ar gwylod y sgrin eto, neu ar ochr y sgrin, dibynnu pa sgrin ydych chi'n edrych ar. Ond Q&A ydy'r ffordd o anfon cwestiynau I ni gyd, so y siaradwyr I gyd heddiw. Fel ydych chi'n gweld o'r agenda, mae yna cyfle I cael sgwrs ar y diwedd, cwestiynau ar y diwedd. So os oes yna cwestiwn yn ystod y cyflwyniad, jyst teimlwch yn rhydd I roed o I fewn i'r Q&A box, a wedyn byddwn ni gyd fel panel yn dod ar y sgrin ar y diwedd ac gallu ateb eich cwestiwn. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Felly, fel ydych chi'n gweld, mae gennym ni rhaglen llawn bore yma. Mae'r cynllun yma yn un gyffrous iawn. Dyn ni gyd yn mor falch bod chi wedi dod I Llysgennad I ni, pa bynnag cynllun neu strategaeth ydych chi wedi wneud. Mae yna nifer ohonyn nhw ar gael ar y foment. Wrth gwrs nath o gyd cychwyn hefo Sir Dinbych dros 3 mlynedd yn ôl wan. A wedyn, dyn ni fel Parc Genedlaethol hefyd wrth gwrs wedi dod ymlaen. Fel rhai sydd yn cynnig y cynllun Llysgennad yma, a dyn ni'n falch iawn o ddeud bod gyda ni 1000 o Llysgennad erydi erbyn heddiw sydd yn anhygoel. Dyn ni'n falch iawn o hynny hefyd. Felly, diolch I chi gyd. Dwi 3 munud dros amser y barod, felly na I ddim gwastraffu ddim mwy o amser a na I gyflwyno y siaradwyr cyntaf sydd yn Christine Evans a Steve Griffin o Cymdeithas Tywyswyr Twristiaid Swyddogol Cymru sy'n mynd I siarad I ni am dod yn dywyswr twristiaid Cymru. Felly, Christine and Steve, if it's okay for you to turn your cameras on now. There we go, and I'll pass over to you, bore da, Christine.
Okay, diolch. So, diolch yn fawr iawn, Angela, and bore da pawb, and it's a great pleasure to be here today. speaking alongside my colleague Steve Griffin, who is the chair of Wales Official Tourist Guides Association. I'm one of the directors of Wales Best Guides Enterprises Limited, which is the training arm of our membership body. So big thanks to Nicola in Sir Imbich and Team Eryri as well for allowing us to be first on today. So Nessa, Awel? Okay, so why are we here today? Well, as tourist guides, as soon as we heard about ambassador courses, we thought these are brilliant. We soak up knowledge like a sponge. We have what we call hive minds, and we've done a recent survey of our members, and 22 of our guides have taken over 66 ambassador courses. They are a perfect pathway into guiding, which is why we're here today. And we love them so much. We've actually written one, and it's been a pleasure to work for Cyngor and this morn in writing the Isle of Anglesey Ambassador Programme for them. And pleased to announce today that the next 3 modules, which will help you gain your silver badge, are live as we speak. So that's great news. So I'll hand over to our chair, Steve, for the next section. Diolch, Awel.
Oh, thank you very much, Christine. So my name's Steve Griffin, and I'm a Blue Badge Guide, and based down here in South Wales. And lots of people ask, what does a tourist guide do? We obviously do the obvious, we guide, but we tour manage. We're always learning. You never stop learning as a guide. And we promote the area, and we problem solve as well. That often can be a big part of the job. And we're always briefed to be quite spontaneous because things never run to plan. So we have to jump in and change things at last minute. And we also bring areas to life by telling stories. And that's an important thing with our training. We don't train people to give people death by dates and stuff. We train people to tell the stories of Wales and really bring it to life. And if the technology works now, we have a little film now, I believe. So we'll see if it works for us this time now. Here we go.
Nes I gymhwyso i ddechrau yn 2002 fel bathodyn gwyrdd Gogledd Cymru. Wedyn nes I wneud y bathodyn glas Cymru gyfan, a hynny'n 2008, a rwan dwi'n gweithio llawn amser. Nes I gael y syniad yn wreiddiol yn 2002, mynd â ffrindiau o amgylch jyst ardal yn ymyl i adref fan hyn ac yn y blaen, a meddwl, beth fysa hynna'n syniad o rywbeth I wneud. Ac o'n i'n teimlo, tasa gynnyn nhw y cefndir a'r hanes a'r straeon y tu ôl I Gonwy a ardal fwy ar wasgarn a Gonwy, fysa hynny yn gwneud I ymweliad nhw yn llawer mwy eang o ran y gwybodaeth a'r hwyl ydyn nhw'n gael hefyd. Mae yna amryw yn gofyn I fi sut ydw I yn ffitio bob dim I fewn, achos wedi symud I fyw 2 flynedd yn dôl, mae gynna I anifeiliaid, mae gynna I wir bach rwan. Da ni'n cael y gwaith yn bell o'n flaen llaw weithiau, a wedyn mae'n bosib trefnu dyddiadur I ffitio pethau eraill I fewn. Dwi'n mwynhau y gwaith yn ofnadwy. Ar rei dyddiau, mae eisiau codi yn ofnadwy o gynnar, yn enwedig i'r cwn gael bod am dro cyn I mi fynd ac yn y blaen. A weithiau mae'n hwyr iawn a rwy'n yn gorffen, mae'n dibynnu dyddiau eraill wrach 2 awr o waith iddo. Ond mae o'n hwyl, mae o'n andros o hwyl. Mae rwy'n yn gweithio hefo bobl clen ofnadwy, bobl sy'n eisiau dysgu, bobl sy'n eisiau gwybod be mae fel I fyw yng Nghymru. Da ni'n cael ymwelwyr o dros y byd, o Brydain hefyd, ac wrth gwrs o Gymru a bobl mwy lleol yn dod ar rei o'r teithiau ac yn y blaen. Ond fedrwch chi byth fod yn gwybod digon am eich ardal ac am y straeon, a wedyn mae o'n gweithio pa bynnag ydy'r bobl, a mae o'n andros o hwyl. Mae'r gwaith yn fendigedig o amrywiol, y gwahanol fath o deithiau mae rwy'n yn wneud, a'r bobl mae rwy'n yn dod ar ei draws. Wrach bod yna bobl sy'n dod o'r llonga, sy'n dod I fewn I Caergybi wrach, grwpiau wrach 30 o bobl ac yn mynd rownd gwahanol ardaloedd yn Eryri. Wrach mae grŵp yn dod I fewn I Castell Gonwy neu Castell Caernarfon. Grwpiau ysgolion, mae hynny'n hwyl ofnadwy, dwi'n meddwl yr iengad wedi wneud ydy rei 3-4 oed. rownd Castell Gonwy. Mae nifer o deithiau sy'n dod i fewn, a unigolion di'r hynny, wrach cwple, a wedyn mae'r gwaith, da chi'n newid yr ffordd da chi'n gwneud y gwaith yn ôl pwy ydy'r cwsmer felly. Dwi'n aelod o'r gymdeithas yma yn Gymru, WOTSGA, a mae y gymdeithas da ni'n gael rhwngth yn gilydd yn arbennig. Da ni'n cyfarfod i wneud cyrsiau, i gadw'n gwybodaeth i fyny ac yn y blaen. A fedrwch chi feddwl pen da ni yn cyfarfod. Dim yn ddiwrnod tawel iawn, achos mi rydyn ni gyd yn bywoliaeth ni ydy siarad. Wedyn fedrwch chi feddwl mae'n adeg biwiog ofnadwy pen da ni gyd yn cyfarfod. Da ni gyd hefyd yn hynna'n gyflogedig, ond da ni rhannu gwaith rhwngth yn gilydd. Wedyn mae hynny'n gweithio'n dda o ran aelodaeth WOTSGA. Os na fedra i wneud rhyw daith dwi wedi cael gofyn amdano fo, fyddai'n gwybod am rywun arall fedar wneud, a mae'n gweithio rhyw fath yn dôl i fi. A wedyn da ni'n gweithio drwy'n gilydd hefo hynny lly. Os oes rei ohonoch chi sydd â diddordeb, da chi wedi gwneud y cwrs Llysgennad wrach, a diddordeb mewn bod yn dywysydd, yn bendant, dechreuwch yn lleol. Ewch mewn cysylltiad hefo rhywun sy'n gwneud y gwaith yn barod. Da ni gyd yn hapus iawn i siarad hefo chi ynglyn â'r math o waith da ni'n wneud a pa ffordd i fynd felly, i wneud y gwahanol bathodynau. Ydych chi'n cael golwg ar y wefan tywyswyr gorau Cymru. Mae yna lot o wybodaeth o fanna hefo'r rheini sydd yn gwneud yr hyfforddiant ac yn y blaen. Dwi wedi gwneud yn ddiweddar hefo rhywun sydd rhywun wedi dechrau gwneud bathodyn gwyrdd. A oedd hynny'n ddefnyddiol iawn jyst rhoi ongl wahanol o'r math o waith mae rhywun yn gwneud felly, achos mae o'n amrywiol ofnadwy.
Excellent, as Rian there up in North Wales. And one thing she said is fun. And I think if you find a job you really enjoy, you never really work a day in your life. And that most definitely is with guiding. Very, very varied as well. No two tours are ever the same. Next slide, please. WOTGA is a well-established association, the Wales Official Tour Guides Association, 40 years old this year, and it's been supporting guides in Wales for all this time. And we're really lucky in Wales because we're the only nation in the UK where the guides are endorsed by the government, by the Welsh government. So that really gives us a market advantage. People know they're hiring a guide that's really been through the mill with a qualification, and they're going to do a top product as well. And they also use us as well. They pushed us towards big events that have come to Wales. For example, the Ryder Cup, Champions League, and things like the Volvo Ocean Race as well. They've used them to show guests and sponsors and things like that. And they also use us to show around visiting journalists, film crews for holiday programs, things like that, as well as the normal customers we get from all over the UK and all over the world as well. Next one, please. Now, our guides, you can see pretty much most are based in Wales, but you can see on the map that some of them are based outside Wales, because people who are already established guides, maybe with a blue badge London qualification, have decided to come and get the Wales qualification, which is fantastic because they're bringing in tourists from outside Wales. And it's really good that they bring in tourists into Wales as the ones that are already here. So maybe part of a tour that's going around all of Wales. 80 members we have so far, and we're doing really well, but we'd really like to boost them numbers. And all of us are really self-employed. We're individual businesses, but work together under the flag of the Wales Official Tour Guides Association. The next one, please. We also have people that can speak different languages. We have English, Welsh, German, French, Italian, Hungarian, Russian, Spanish, Dutch and Portuguese, and we have British Sign Language as well. Now, we only have a small number of each language, so we are always looking for people with the language skills to look after the customers that come in with a different language. So that is really good as well. And some of our guides do accessible tours as well, planning routes for people who have mobility problems, using T-loops or sight impairment as well. Now I'd like to hand back to my colleague Christine now, and she will continue.
Yeah, Steve, thank you. So how do you become a Watga guide. So we offer courses that are mainly in knowledge and guiding skills. So we two sides, knowledge and skills. So Slade Nessa, please, Awel. So we have 4 levels. Community guiding is very important to us. This is a relatively new development. And as Steve says, we've been in existence for 40 years. And sometimes I think the Wales' best kept secret, but there's a reason for that, is that most of our customer base historically has been from outside of Wales. So what we've tried to do really over the last couple of years, and certainly going forward, is to do more in our communities. So we have devised one of our courses, which is just 4 days and very much aimed at volunteers. We've talked a lot about professional guides already, but it's very important that we start off and spark that interest with people at community level. So our first level really for professional guides is the white badge at level 1 and 2. So white badges cover a single site or a single town or community. And most recently, we've developed and run a course for crews in Holyhead, crews welcome guides in Holyhead. The next level is green, the green badge. And these are regional. So here you can see the badge of the Southwest Wales. So you're very much focused on that particular region and the product for that region, and also how to guide on a moving vehicle. So a coach, or if you're a driver guide, etc. And then level 4 is the pinnacle, really. So that's our blue badge. Blue badges are recognised the world over for tourist guides as the highest level of the profession. And you can only do a blue badge if you top up from a green badge. So you do need to, if you want to start, you jump in at the level 3, and then you can top up to the blue badge. And just this last Friday, we had Lord David Wigley presenting our latest cohort of blue badge guides with their badges and certificates at Amgueddfa Ar-lein. We'd spent a couple of days in the new World Heritage site doing our continuous professional development, and that was the sort of the icing on the cake. So Slade Nessa, please, here we go. So what do we study? We as I say, we've done skills, we do skills and knowledge. So our skills are very much about communicating in guiding. So it's all about the talking, how to talk, how to project your voice, when to talk, sometimes when not to, and what not to say. Sometimes there's certain things where we try not to be controversial and the topics that we avoid. But we also do things like voice care and how to look after your tonsils and your voice box as perhaps on a busy 3-day tour. We look at group management, so where to position yourself so that your group can see you. Not to keep turning round, you know, if you're in the Barbican in Conwy Castle there, just check that it is where it's meant to be when you arrive, but it's not going to move after 750 years. So you need your guests looking at what's actually the subject matter, and you're there confidently speaking to them. But also you're positioning the group for safety and making sure you're not obstructing other visitors. So we also do in the green and blue badge, we look at business, how to develop your guiding business and marketing. And also increasingly, we're looking at technology that is used in guiding. So whether it's the whisper mics that we use, so you don't have to project, you know, particularly if you're working with a large group. And it does give the guest a little bit more freedom to have a little wander while they're listening to you, but also technology that's used for selling tours. And one of our initiatives lately for existing guides has been about embracing the websites that are out there and the portals that are out there to sell direct to the consumer rather than just the trade. Nessa, please. Well, so what do you study? Knowledge. On the knowledge side, well, this is where we all have that the range of interests, don't we? So all sorts of topics that are involved, and as I mentioned before, we start at site or community level, then the region, and then Wales. And of course, we like to promote the Welsh language to everybody that we come across, architecture and churches, sheep. You will not believe how interested visitors are in sheep, and we do avoid the stereotypes. And we talk a lot about the Cynefin, for example, in Eryri, that how sheep are hefted, how the sheep that are at large on the mountains, they know which is their territory. It's fascinating stuff. But we also bring it up to date, and we might talk about project, for example, with Menter Môn on the Isle of Anglesey, where they're looking at different uses for wool to develop markets for our farmers. How to attack and defend a castle. This can get really interesting, particularly with groups of youngsters. We'll look at industrial heritage, economic development. But what you also do on the course is you're given a topic to research, you go away, you write your project, and then you bring it back. And we have a shared portal, and everybody's work is shared with everybody else. So that you have this great resource then of items and content that you can all share with each other. And indeed, that helps to develop the bonding within your group as well. So Nessa. So how do you study? We are in communities. We don't actually have any premises. So we're making our own little contribution into communities by paying for rooms to teach in and taking advantage of, say, conference and meeting rooms. If your project is sponsored by somebody that has meeting rooms, save a bit on the cost by providing your own room. But we do a few workshops around the table, but most of what we do is out there in the field practicing, learning how to guide and practicing. And we visit hundreds of places across Wales, and we have to say a massive thank you to people who are eternally patient with us, with our groups. Ddathlu Cymru in Cardiff, of course Cadw, the castles, food producers, all sorts of places that we go to on a theme. There is a lot of investment of your own time needs to come in for research. You do have your written projects, and of course you need to put in the time for revision. And there are the dreaded tests and assessments, but we try and make them as painless as possible. And as I say, the group sharing is ideal for that. So the next slide, please. Yeah. So we work to standards. We have quality standards. So our training has been verified by the European Federation of Tourist Guide Associations. Nessa, I will do. So any European standards have now been mapped to British standards following Brexit. So, but we follow that European lead. And of course, as Steve has mentioned, we are endorsed by the Welsh Government and can display their dragon on our badges and membership cards. So over to Steve. Nessa.
There we are, I'm reading myself. Once you have trained and passed all the exams, you join WATGA. And being a member of this professional organisation has great benefits. One, I've made some really good friends, and we've just had our AGM in North Wales, as I mentioned earlier on, and we all went out on a coach trip to top up our knowledge on North Wales. But we also share information. Even though we are self-employed, we all work together and share information by the different social platforms and things we have at our fingertips these days. We also work with the technology as well, top our knowledge up on that. And WATGA also provides insurance as well. As a professional guide, you need public liability insurance. So that is all done through the Welsh Official Tourist Guides as well. And research has shown that the more guides that are out there, the more work is made for the guides that are out there. So we're always conscious that we're not going to flood the market But yeah, the more that's there, the more work that seems to come along. So next slide, please. We are working with some projects at the moment across Wales. We've just started a Green Badge course in the north and the southeast of Wales. And we're also working with some smaller projects. Next slide, please. Lovely. And we're doing some community guiding courses as well. In Blaenau Gwent, one of them looking at the formation of the NHS, and also down at the Guardian statue. If you've never seen this wonderful tribute to a mine disaster that happened in Six Bells. And the course as well is also a small one in Newport as well, looking at the Chartists as well, the important history of that. So we will be, you know, getting people to talk about the stories of their local area, but be in a real entertaining way as well. That's what we really push when we train the guides, but also safety as well. That is a big part of it as well, keeping your customers, your guests safe. So whether it's at white badge or community level at a walking tour, it's all beneficial to the community as well. Next slide, well, if you are interested in becoming a guide, if you go to our website, Wales Best Guides, there is a form on there with a contact, and you can contact our training officer, and then they will keep your details on file. And when our next courses are running, we will be in touch and hopefully get you into the Watka family. Thank you very much. And there will be some chance later on in the day if you have any questions for us. So thank you ever so much.
Diolch yn fawr.
Wel, ie, diolch yn fawr, Christine a Steve. Hynod o diddorol, a mae rhaid fi ddeud, os oedd un ohonych chi yn rhedeg ryw daith o'n i ar, swn i'n hapus iawn, achos y ffordd ydych chi'n cyfleu wybodaeth yn diddorol iawn, iawn. Felly, dyn ni'n bwrw ymlaen efo, jyst gyda llaw, mae yna dipyn o cwestiynau wedi dod i fewn i chi yn penodol, felly na i anfon nhw ymlaen, achos mae yna rhai technegol ella fyddwch chi gallu ymateb, mae'n siŵr. Diolch yn fawr. Dyn ni hefyd yn hynod o lwcus i cael hefo ni heddiw Pennaeth Marchnata Croeso Cymru, Lucy von Webber, sydd mynd i roi diweddariad i ni ar beth sy'n digwydd yn Croeso Cymru. A dwi'n meddwl mae Lucy mynd i rhannu sgrin ei hun yma. Felly, Lucy, if you would like to share your screen, let's see how that goes. Yeah, fingers crossed.
I was going to say, fingers crossed. All good?
Looking good, yeah. If you want to put it on full screen.
Perfect.
That's it. Perfect.
Lovely. And diolch Awel, diolch everyone here. Bore da pawb. Really, really lovely to speak to you today. And I was just saying earlier on, first time for months, I've been doing more presentations in person than online. So it's actually quite nice to do an online one again, keep my hand in. We've done a lot of road shows in the last month. So I may have seen some of you at some of the road shows. Some of these slides will look familiar, but I've switched it up quite a bit, and I've tried to make it very specific for today. But I wanted to also just sort of start by saying, obviously, Christine and Steve, they've mentioned already how closely the Wales Best Guides work with Visit Wales. We use them for so many different services, international groups, journalists, people coming in that want that sort of specific guided tour. We always point people towards the guides. And I think, Steve, you're actually on the site at the moment as well. One of your little introduction videos is on there. So just wanted to corroborate that and say how important it is that we have this great base of guides with all these incredible skills that we can really give Wales that competitive advantage when we're talking about Wales and offering and suggesting things to people. Now, today, I have got quite a lot to get through in 20 minutes. So I've split it into 3 areas: strategy, audiences, and then resources, free resources that are useful for finding out a little bit more about what we do and how you can work with us. But what I wanted to do, I'm trying to encapsulate the last few years, pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, what's basically happened over the last 3 or 4 years in one really quick little film. So I'm going to show that first, just some of our our highlights, I guess, really. It's only 60 seconds.
Welsh takeover in New York.
Cymru am byth.
So I'll move on to strategy. Now, all of those things that you saw in there, I'm going to touch on as we move through the next few slides. But start with a bit of strategy, a bit of context. Way back in 2020, and I remember it well, it was the end of January 2020, we launched our Welcome to Wales, our strategy that was going to take us forward to 2025. It was about 5 weeks before the pandemic hit. But actually, the way that strategy was written, it was a very big change for us. It was a lot more around value over volume. For example, people that wanted to come to Wales, support local businesses, come here for the right reasons, be aware of the country and the culture. Lots of those things have changed in that strategy. And in fact, post-pandemic, we couldn't have been in a better place really in terms of how our strategy stood up. Ultimately, Scotland, Ireland, lots of people now, lots of destinations are rewriting their strategy to talk about responsible tourism, which I think regenerative tourism is a better phrase, and you'll hear that phrase quite a lot these days. I know there are even jobs, that are called regenerative tourism officer. It's all about that sustainable element, that circular economy, and doing things that are good, not just for visitors, but are good for businesses and good for the citizens of Wales as well. And I'm just going to go through a few of those things, because in that strategy, there were 3 or 4 main commitments for us for Visit Wales. That second one is a major one, tackling seasonality, encouraging high spend and longer stays. And, I always use an example of when people say to me, well, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis and what you do for Visit Wales? And I use dark skies quite often as an example. It was one of the first things we did as we came out of the pandemic. And since then, there have been a lot of dark sky festivals, dark sky products coming to the fore. But in a way, it sums up those 3 S's of seasonality, spend and spread, because you have to come really, you can see great skies any time of year in Wales, but the best dark skies are between October and March. You have to stay overnight. So obviously you're spending on food, and you're obviously spending on accommodation. And also they tend to be in some of the areas that have capacity and need more business. Cambrian Mountains is a really good example of that. They've done an awful lot of work really promoting their dark sky status and developing all the products on the ground. And you'll see lots of the accommodation there really now go to town on the fact that they're in a dark sky area and they celebrate it. I'm going to talk about audiences and insights further down the line, but I just wanted to give you a quick, this is a real sort of bluffer's guide to where we are at the moment, really, a 101. And things like the brand pillars, again, people say, well, what do you mean by brand pillars? For Wales, the 3 core aspects that we believe we have huge competitive value in, and we can compete with the best internationally and domestically, are in these 3 areas: landscape, adventure and culture. And culture includes all of our heritage as well as language, performance, festivals. So I'm going to give you a few examples of those as we go through the slides. But I think it's worth pointing out that, and I think a lot of people don't realise that actually Visit Wales is just one part of the Cymru Wales brand family. So just on that line alongside Visit Wales, you'll see treat and invest, but food and drink, incredibly important from a visitor's point of view. Creative Wales, increasingly important. Lots and lots more now, inquiries coming in around visiting movie and film locations in Wales. We carry a lot of content on Visit Wales specifically for that. If I give you an example of how it impacts quite dramatically on things like our web traffic, when Sex Education, the final season, aired about 6 weeks ago, for 3 weeks, in the top 3 on our website was filming locations: Monmouthshire, Vale, Glamorgan, all of those areas where Sex Education had been filmed. And again, I'll talk about international later. From an international point of view, that series is huge in the States and huge in other parts of the world as well. So we look for all those opportunities we can to work with our Creative Wales team who sit alongside us. And then just a quick one, just to give you another example. So not part of the same portfolio in government, not part of the same division, but Transport for Wales, we work alongside as well. And quick example of that, you may have seen it over the late summer and it's been carried through into the autumn. We've done some work that you may not look at that and think, oh, that's Visit Wales, but it's Visit Wales alongside Transport for Wales. And we chose 4 routes where we were basically saying, leave the car at home and go by train. They were chosen on the basis of being extremely busy hotspots in the late summer and over the half term, and also trying to push the fact that obviously with the cost of living crisis, children go free on the train, and there was a 2-for-1 offer with Cadw sites, and Cadw sit alongside us in our division as well. So that's just a really quick example of how we often work across those different parts of the brand family. Many of you will have hopefully seen throughout this year Llwybr Wales by Trails, which is our big campaign that's been running since January. It's an important one for us. We came out of the pandemic. It was our first themed year. We used to run themed years all the way up to 2020, when of course we had Year of Outdoors, which I think was going to be a fantastic year, but obviously everything was pulled at the end of March that year. So we wanted to return to a theme that was very easy for businesses to hook onto. Businesses, destinations, guides. There was something there that, you know, you didn't necessarily have to create something new. You just had to talk about it in a different way and package it in a different way, really. So Wales by Trails continued all year. And part of the strategy when it launched in 2020 as well was a real focus on shoulder season and trying to balance and drive more business into the shoulder season. And that doesn't mean that we don't do marketing all year round, but it does mean that Visit Wales never used to really push autumn and winter. And since we came out of the pandemic, we really have pushed it harder. We go above the line, which is basically TV, paid digital, all our advertising and media partnerships. We start talking about autumn and winter second week in August, roughly, because we know that there are a lot of people looking at our social media and a lot of people looking at the website. We try and take advantage of that. And consumer and travel trade, lots of people don't realise that it's often something that you don't see necessarily as obviously as a TV ad, but the work we do with travel trade is significant, and that's trying to get to those operators that are bringing business into Wales, internationally and domestically, make sure that we get more and more into their programmes and build that back. And I'm going to talk about that as we go through as well. I just wanted to mention Artho. Artho is the Wales Promise, and now Artho started in the summer of 2020 when we knew we were phasing out of lockdown, and there was a huge number of people, many of whom had never experienced hill walking or going to the seaside or just being outdoors again. And Artho came into place as what was going to be a 6-week campaign about making a promise to Wales to help care for one another, look after your communities, look after the countryside when you're here. And we did a lot of work around that. But actually, it's become such an important part of what we do. Artho has stayed with us. So that 6-week campaign has turned into a long-term fundamental of what we talk about in our marketing. Just a few examples here as well of sort of Artho related work. In the summer, you may see, we'll talk about making sure that you only like fires and barbecues in designated places, keeping dogs on lead, leaving gates as you found them. We do an incredible amount with the RNLI over the course of the summer as well, to really push going to an RNLI lifeguarded beach. All of these things they're just very important. They're very important from a point of view of us giving the right message to people to make the right choices when they get here. It's also important because we can support a lot of the partners that we work with and help spread that message of theirs even further in the case of someone like the RNLI. In fact, just one example of something we did over the summer, we were looking at groups that were coming to the countryside, going to the sea, maybe hadn't sort of been before and just needed a bit of a refresher on how to have a really safe, enjoyable summer holiday trip. So we've done a lot of work with Adventure Smart Wales over the course of the summer holidays. Spotify, paid digital, out of home, all kinds of things. And out of home is just big LED displays, basically at sort of motorway services, train stations, things like that. But Artho is important to us, and you'll see it as an underpinning sort of principle in everything we do. We've obviously moved away from what we were talking about post-pandemic, which was all around making sure that you kept your distance and you chose quieter spots to go to. Now it's all about please support local business when you're here, buy local food, be part of the community and be respectful to the community, and safety messages. So it's become a standard for us throughout the year, Artho. Now, there's a big vanity around social media numbers and followers. We are in about 1.8 million. I'd like to think that in the spring we'll get to 2 million. But social media huge followers are only worth it if they engage with you and keep things moving. And we're lucky. We've got a very engaged, good social media following across Instagram, across X, across Facebook, multiple different channels that we're running. But 90% of what you'll see from us is often user-generated content. It's our community sharing and talking about their experiences that we then reshare. And it keeps that community bonded together and growing. And it also is great for others because it's not just our messages that are going out. We'll intersperse it with our messages, whether it's Artho or whether it's about anchoring to a piece of web content about, you know, great events happening in the summer. But we always keep that balance of user-generated content that's coming directly from our followers. And that means that when we do need something from our followers and we need a bit of help, it becomes a lot easier. And a good example of this was over the summer. We had a meeting in July with WAVA, Welsh Association of Visitor Attractions, who told us that they were having, you know, they'd had a really bad June, and they were looking like it was going to be a really bad summer. So within 2 or 3 hours of that meeting on the 7th of July, I remember it well, we changed the home site to the homepage of the website to make it far more attraction orientated. And then over the summer, we ran about 25 pieces on our social media, pushing people back to different types of attractions in different parts of Wales. So it's important then that 1.8 million, we use those people to make sure that we can spread the word and do something good for our businesses in that respect. Talk a little bit about the US later on. We're very, very active in the US at the moment. It's by far the strongest market to come back internationally post-COVID. And obviously, all of the good vibes around Welcome to Wrexham, which is actually the finale was last week, fabulous finale with the parade in it. It's so much interest around it. So we're working with Expedia internationally, particularly in the US. And also we work with a company that produced Welcome to Wrexham. You'll see there things like the fan zones in the US Summer Games to try and attract as many people as possible to actually come over now and visit not just Wales, but not just Wrexham, but the whole of Wales. Now, we don't do anything without checking, and it's just an example of that. You know, when we do our insight material work in different markets, one of the things we did with our US market was to look at perceptions of Wales before and after Wrexham, the Welcome to Wrexham sort of TV series is aired. And you can tell that a huge number of people, you know, it's something way up there in that first figure on the left-hand side, what it made them feeling more positive about Wales. You know, we also know that people were looking for more information about Wales and were open to travelling to Wales. So we know the Wrexham phenomenon is great, you know, but we also needed to have that extra statistical backup, because when you're planning marketing work, you can never have enough data, basically. Also in the US at the moment, we work with Visit Britain, and I'll talk about Visit Britain in a second as well. And something that lots of people don't realise is we work really closely with Marketing Manchester too. We use Manchester as a bit of a gateway point for coming into North Wales and beyond, and we do consumer marketing and also B2B. So B2B marketing is basically us working with tour operators and suppliers internationally. The travel trade team, and my goodness, the travel trade team pushes so many people towards the Wales Best Guides. You know, it's one of the best things that we can do when we're out speaking to people is then be able to give them the details of the guides so that they know they're getting an experienced, qualified, often multilingual service, and they can choose from the best we have. So huge number of events across the year. As I say, many, if you're not working with a travel trade, you might not even know they go on, but all of these events are there to drive more and more business to operators to basically say, look, get Wales on the map. Llychu Cymru, the World Heritage Site was mentioned earlier on. Things like the World Heritage Sites are very important parts of what we talk about when we're with the travel trade at the moment. All of these things that you can hang a hook on. Wrexham, again, very important. And the interest has been, this is a study that was done back in March. 350 operators, all independently done. Very clear interest coming from the USA and also from Germany at the moment. So, you know, this is just one operator that's come back to Wales, hasn't been operating for some time here, and he's introduced a new tour, started last month, running all through the winter, which is great from our point of view, from a seasonality aspect. This is Globus, a big US operator, 1,500 bed nights over the winter period. And that's the kind of work that, you know, that's the sort of best result that we want when we're working with travel suppliers and tour operators through our travel trade team. And obviously Visit Britain, super close working with Visit Britain. A lot of our journalist visits, a lot of our group visits come in via Visit Britain. And so we focus on the markets that are most important to Wales when it comes to our Visit Britain work. North America, Germany, France, but that doesn't mean we don't work with others. We work wherever we can, cost effectively, and with partners like Visit Britain. So over the last year, we've done work in the Nordic area. We've also done work in Japan and Australia. And just a quick sort of mention at the bottom of TXGB, which I will not try and explain in 5 seconds, because I'm on my last few slides now. I won't try and explain TXGB, but it's have a Google, or you'll have these slides afterwards if you want them as well. And TXGB is a great online platform helping us to just match people up and make Wales much more bookable internationally and also domestically. And this goes on all through the year. PR. Again, often not something that businesses see. As Steve and Christine were saying, often Wales official guides will help with some of these journalist visits, from Le Monde to the Times to Wanderlust. We work on these throughout the year, and we try and balance things across different parts of Wales when we do it as well. And then on top of that, great news, about 2 weeks ago, we found out that Lonely Planet had chosen Wales as one of its 10 sustainable destinations to visit in 2024, largely recognising Wales on the back of the fact that we were one of the first countries in the world to introduce legislation for sustainability. So you'll see a lot more from us on Lonely Planet work. We'll be doing a lot with them over the next year. Audiences, and I'm going to go through these quickly because I'll be running out of time. This is a horrendous slide to look at, but this is just to give you an example of how we plan throughout the year. All of those in red, recontact surveys, conversion surveys, consumer sentiment, all of that is, you know, part of our planning process. We review every 8 weeks. We're constantly looking at how we reflect and change things for the next period coming up. So I think post-pandemic, we're operating more like any other business would operate in the way that we plan our marketing. Very reactive, very flexible, externally to things like the cost of living crisis at the moment, internally with businesses telling us, like the attractions did, we need your help over the next 2 months. All of those things go into the planning mix. And again, I won't go through these in detail because you can have the slides afterwards, but Britain, for Wales, domestic business has always been 90% of the mainstay of Wales in terms of tourism business. 10% has been across the international market. And you can see that, you know, that the value of what that domestic business brings to Wales. When we talk about our domestic consumers and our domestic target audiences, we've got a guide that we bring out. We've got 7 audiences that we're targeting at the moment. At the end of this, in a few slides' time, you'll be able to see how you can get your hands on this. If you want to know who we target and why and how we target them, and suggestions as to how you can also target those similar audiences, it's all in our downloadable piece on audience insights. And then internationally, as I've mentioned before, we target US particularly at the moment. They're coming back really strongly post-pandemic. They had money to spend still. They were one of the markets that had a lot of latent demand because they put off travel and saved up. But Germany and Ireland, big markets for us as well. And in fact, Germany, one of the biggest growths we have in our consumer marketing database at the moment is from German consumers. So I'm speeding through. Last couple of slides, nearly there. All of these things are available. So top left corner, that site, if any of you have got materials that you want to get hold of, you might have promotional material that you're using, you can download and use images for free from that site in the top left-hand corner. And it takes less than 60 seconds to register. And that's not a marketing 60 seconds, it's genuinely less than 60 seconds. Very much like Getty Images, you can search on seasons, family types, locations, destinations, but then download them for free with Crown copyright directly into your own inbox or onto your own laptop for you to use in your own material. The audiences I talked about there in the middle. We've also got things like our Wales by Trails guide, industry guide this year that has a huge amount of depth of detail in it. And we have sort of a one-stop shop 6-pager as well, with all the links of things that I've been talking about in it, including TXGB, and you'll see that down at the left-hand corner. All I would finish by saying is please sign up to the industry newsletter or follow us on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter. The industry newsletter is where everything goes out first. If we have any news, whether it's grants, marketing campaigns, whether we're trying to share information for stakeholders, it will always be in the industry newsletter first. So please do sign up for it. And I just wanted to say again, diolch yn fawr iawn for allowing me to come to speak today. It's been a real pleasure. Great to hear from Christine and Steve, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the morning as well. And then we'll be happy to take any questions at the end. I shall stop sharing.
Diolch, Lucy. Super interesting. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Traffolwg sydyn iawn o'r gwaith anhygoel sydd yn mynd yn ei flaen. A diddorol iawn i ni, mae'n siŵr, a pawb sydd yn Llysgenhadon i gallu rhannu rhai o'r wybodaeth yna, neu anfon pobl at y wefan Visit Wales yn Amlwg neu Croeso Cymru i gwybod lle mae yr adnoddau yma i gyd. O'n i'n hynod oedd yn hynod diddorol i glywed be oeddech chdi'n deud am Lonely Planet yn adnabod Cymru fel cyrchfan gynaladwy yn 2024, a mae hynny yn arwain yn syth bing at ein siaradwr nesaf, sef Alec Young, amlwg swyddog yr Wyddfa Ddiblastig sydd yn gweithio yn y Parc Genedlaethol Eryri. Felly prosiect specific i wneud efo gynaladwyeth wrth gwrs ac Eryri. Felly Alec, na i trosglwyddo sydd i chdi.
Diolch Angela, bore da pawb, dros yr 20 munud nes yma fydda'n trafod chydig bach o'r gwaith mae'r Parc Cenedlaethol Eryri wedi bod yn arwain ar i gyflawni prosiect unigryw a chyffroes iawn, ac hefyd ar sut da ni'n gobeithio cyrraedd ein amcan uchelgeisiol o wneud yr Wyddfa yn mynydd ddiblastig. Cyn i mi symud ymlaen i sôn am rhai o'r ymgyrchoedd penodol da ni wedi cyflawni. I gyrraedd y nod hwn, byddai yn rhoi rhywfaint o gyd-destun i chi ynghylch â pam bod y prosiect hwn mor bwysig i Eryri. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Fel yn sicr, da chi'n gwybod yn barod, yr Wyddfa yw'r atyniad twristiaid fwyaf boblogaeth yng Nghymru, ac efallai y copa prysura yn Ewrop. Mae'n ardal pot mel, da ni'n wahodd i 600,000 o gerwyr i'r mynydd bob blwyddyn, a mae'r mynydd hefyd yn gymryd y rhan helaetha o'r sylw yn y cyfryngau yn nhermau Eryri. Mae yna sawl problem da ni'n gweld gyda gymaint o ymwelwyr ar y mynydd, ond un o'r problemau parhaol da ni'n gweld blwyddyn ar ôl blwyddyn yw'r problem o sbwriel. Y ffigwr da ni'n crybwyll wrth sôn am maint y problem yn reit aml yw'r ffigwr o 550 kg o sbwriel, ond mae hwnnw chydig bach yn camarweiniol am ei fod yn cynrychioli ffigwr o un grŵp gwirfoddol yn unig, a hwnnw yw Caru Eryri, a dio ddim yn cynnwys y 350 o fagiau sbwriel mae'n wrdeiniad gwirfoddol yn casglu bob blwyddyn, na'r gwaith caled mae mudiadau eraill yn wneud fel Trashfree Trails. Felly mae'n problem sylweddol, a fedrwch chi dychmygu bod yna cytundeb dros y fwrdd i weithredu ar frys i diogelu y tirwedd bregus yma. Mae yna ffigwr sobreiddio'r... sleid nesaf, please, Arwel. Mae yna ffigwr sobreiddio arall, a'r ffigwr yma yw bod y copa o'r Wyddfa yn 500 ficroplastigau. Gafodd y tystiolaeth yma i gasglu yn ystod arolwg CGG, Cwmni Geotech Ffrangeg, yn ôl yn 2021, a nath nhw darganfod bod yna microplastig yn bob un o'r siampla a gafodd ei gymryd ar llwybr Llanberis. Mae yna dipyn o ymchwil wedi cael ei gynnal ar effaith mae microplastigau'n cael ar bioamrywiaeth, iechyd anifeiliaid a dynol, ac yn fwyaf diweddar hyd yn oed ar y tywydd hefyd. Felly, sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Gafodd nifer o syniadau drafod i sut fedra ni datrys y broblem o sbwrio a ficroplastigau, ac y syniad fwyaf poblogaidd yn y parc oedd creu parth i blastig, ac oedd hyn wedi cael ei weld fel cynnig gwyddoniaeth ymddygiad diddorol iawn. Mae plastig-free yn derm amlwg, a nathon ni fel awdurdod cydnabod bod yna cyfaledd mawr mewn anelu at statws y fysa cyntaf i fath yn y byd a mynydd. Hefyd, os da ni'n gallu neud ar yr Wyddfa, fedrwn ni'n neud o yn unrhyw le, a bod yna ffordd o greu glasbrint ar gyfer gweddill y parc. Mae eitemau ysbwrio plastigau intro yw'r eitemau sy'n cael ei ddarganfod y fwyaf ar y mynydd, pethau fel bonion sigaret, boteli ddiodydd, pecynnin lapio, siocledi a creision, ac yn y blaen. Mae lleihau plastig ar hyn o bryd gyda ymchwil fawr o gefnogaeth, ac oedden ni'n eisiau manteisio ar hynna a codi amwybyddiaeth ar y broblem. Fodd bynnag, gallwn ni hefyd codi ymwybyddiaeth ar fathau eraill o sbwriel, fel sbwriel organic, a fyddai'n sôn chydig bach fwy am hynna yn y sleids nesaf. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Felly, be da ni'n trio wneud fan hyn efo'r prosiect, be di'r weledigaeth y prosiect fan? Wel, prosiect 2 flynedd i ddechrau. Da ni yn navigeiddio tiriogaeth newydd, ac hefyd gan bod ni'n wynebu heriau unigryw, fydd y prosiect yn cynnwys nifer o ymgyrchoedd prawf a chynlluniau peilot arloesol. Da ni efo cyfle reit unigryw i bod yn reit creadigol a trio pethau newid allan a methu'r ei effeithiau. Mae'r holl beilotiaid cael ei arwain, sy'n cael ei ddanfon, yn cael ei arwain gan yr un egwyddorion y prosiect, ac yn cyd-fynd â chynlluniau sydd yn bodoli yn barod a polisiau fel cynllun economi yn weld cyfanadwy a polisiau Llywodraeth Cymru yn hynna ailgylchu. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. I ddanfon y prosiect arloesol ag unigryw yma, rhaid i ni cydweithio, da ni wedi bod yn gwneud yn barod, gyda pobl a sectorau gwahanol dros Eryri a Cymru. Mae y gwaith da ni'n gwneud efo ymwelwyr yn bwysig iawn, a da ni'n ceisio addysgu nhw ar meddwl ddwywaith a plastigau intro, cynyddu ymwybyddiaeth trwy creu ymgyrchoedd wybodaeth cyhoeddus, ac fyddwn ni hefyd yn cydweithio gyda, yn cydweithio gyda Prifysgol Bangor i greu arbrofion seicolegol i newid ymddygiad ymwelwyr. Da ni hefyd wedi bod yn gwneud dipyn o waith gyda ysgolion, cynnal gweithdy, da ni wedi cynnal gweithdy gyda 21 o ysgolion hyd yma, a dros 250 o ddisgyblion o Shotton all the way lawr i Llanelli. Da ni wedi bod yn gweithredu trwy'r rhwydwaith eco-ysgolion, ond hefyd wedi gweithio'n uniongyrchol gyda ysgolion lleol tu fewn i ag arffiniau'r parth ddi-blastig da ni wedi creu. Nath Ysgol Dobadan yn Llanberis creu ein asedau brandio trwy cystadleuaeth, a da ni'n gobeithio gweithio gyda ysgolion uwchradd yn fwy yn ystod y tymor nesaf yma. Mae busnesau yn chwarae rhan fawr yn y prosiect hwn hefyd. a bydden nhw'n parhau fod yn ganolog i llwyddiant y prosiect, a byddai'n sôn chydig bach fwy am hynna nes ymlaen. Bydden ni hefyd yn parhau i weithio gyda ein gwirfoddolwyr a mudiadau gwirfoddol gan obeithio cysoni dulliau casglu data i dal gwir arfer problem ac osod llinell sylfaen eleni. Byddwn ni hefyd yn cynyddu'r gwaith da ni'n neud efo tirfeddanwyr yn y flwyddyn nesaf ac yn asesu pa gama gallwn ni gymryd i leihau defnydd o plastig einsio yn y sector amaeth o dan arweiniad adroddiad RAP a gafodd ei gwblhau yn diweddar ar plastigion yn y sector amaeth. Byddwn ni hefyd yn defnyddio yn llais i ymgyrchu dros newid gyda Llywodraeth Cymru. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Mae yna nifer o heriau unigryw fel nes i sôn gyna. Un ohonyn nhw ydy'r ffaith bod yna diffyg signal a Wi-Fi mewn rhai ardaloedd sydd yn golygu bod ni ddim yn gallu cyfarthrebu digidol yn hawdd gyda ein ymwelwyr. Hefyd, mae yna diffyg isadeiledd fel ffynonella dŵr. Wedi bod yn gweithio chydig bach ar hyn yn barod, fel yn sôn am hyn yn eis ymlaen, ond mae Hafod Eryri, sef yr adeilad a'r copa yr Wyddfa, yn dibynnu ar boteli plastig unsio ar hyn o bryd gan nid oes ffynhonnell dŵr ffadwy. Mae mynediad yn problem hefyd. Fedra ni ddim osod fwy o finiau o gwmpas y mynydd na gan y copa gan bod yna ddiffyg mynediad i gyrraedd nhw a gwneud casgliadau yn weddol. Mae'r tywydd yn problem hefyd, mae'n reit wyntog ar yr Wyddfa ac yn aml mae sbwriau'n cael ei chwythu ar draws y mynydd i llefydd anodd i gyrraedd. Rhywbeth da ni'n gweld yn amlwg yn y parc yw dallineb i arwyddion. Mae gennym ni dipyn o arwyddion a gwmpas y parc gyda cyfarwyddiadau bwysig iawn ac ar ôl dipyn mae ymwelwyr yn dechrau stopio i weld yn anffodus. Hefyd un her mawr sydd gennym ni gyda demograffig mor eang o bobl sy'n ymweld â'r parc, sut da ni'n sicrhau bod y negeseuon yn cyrraedd y demograffig eang na bobl, ond yn taro adref yn effeithio ar yr un pryd. Sut da ni'n creu negeseuon sy'n berthnasol i bawb, ond hefyd drawiadol ar yr un amser. Sleid nesaf. A gawn ni neidio ymlaen eto i'r sleid nesaf yma ar y Mabinogion. Wel, un ffordd, nathon ni cytuno fysa'n ffordd dda i gyrraedd cynulleidfa eang oedd trosoli cynulleid fawdd dylanwadu'r cyfryngau cymdeithasol. A nathon ni cyrraedd cytundeb i cydweithio gyda 4 influencer Instagram gyda 85,000 o dilynwyr cyfunol a 2 ohonyn nhw o Gogledd Cymru. Oedden ni isio manteisio ar boblogrwydd cynyddol y genre fantasy a nathon ni gymryd chydig bach o ysbrydoliaeth o ffenomena diwylliannol fel House of Dragon a Game of Thrones i greu ymgyrch wybodaeth cyhoeddus unigryw nath para am 20 wsos yn ganolbwyntio ar y straeon Mabinogion a'i chymeriadau enwog. I greu'r cynnwys aweddol yma, nathon ni seithi mewn ardaloedd adnabyddiadwy o gwmpas Eryri, ond hefyd ardaloedd problemus o ran sbwriel. Nathon ni creu suite o content a nath hwnnw cynnwys ffotograffiaeth, fideograffeg ac hyd yn oed fideo cerddoriaeth nath y can am hwnnw gael ei cyfansoddi gen arweinydd mynydd a cyfansodd wraig lleol o'r enw Hero Douglas. Nath ein dylanwadwyr cyfryngau cymdeithasol gwisgyfynu fel cymeriadau enwog o'r Mabinogion, ac yn y cynnwys digidol ma, nath nhw rhyngweithio i greu gwaith drawiadol iawn. Y nod oedd cyrraedd 600,000 o ymwelwyr sydd yn cyfartal i nifer y cerddwyr i'r copa bob blwyddyn. Nathon ni cyrraedd 410,000 ar ein cyfryngau cymdeithasol yn unig, ond hefyd nathon ni roi posteri mewn lleoliadau o gwmpas yr Wyddfa a'r parc i gyd, yn ein cyfleusteira toiledau ac yn ein meysydd parcio. Be oedd yn dda am y prosiect yma, nath yr influencers cytuno i weithio'n rhad ac am ddim i ni. Felly gafodd yr ymgyrch yma ei rhedeg ar gyllideb o geiniog a dimau. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Nathon ni lancio ein cynllun busnesau ddiblastig ym mis Ebrill, leni, i dydd llawn, gyda 70 o fynychwyr. Da ni'n gweld yn aml fod busnesau yn llinella amddiffyn ola i'r mynydd, a da ni'n gweld nhw fel y gur calon y prosiect hwn. Fel man cochwyn ar gyfer y cynllun busnes yma, oedd gennym ni fframwaith archwilio, gafodd ei drafftio yn ystod y proses sgopio y prosiect yr Wyddfa ddiblastig, ond nathon ni ehangu ag addasu'r cynllun yma a'r fframwaith gan dod â meini prawf a syniadau o mudiadau allanol i fewn i brwydro yn erbyn llygredd plastig. Nathon ni wahodd i busnesau ddechrau'r llwybr ddiblastig gyda ni, ac erbyn wan, da ni wedi archwilio 25 o fusnesau yn yr ardal, ac ar anelu am 5 arall i gyrraedd 25% o'r busnesau lletygarwch yn y parth ddiblastig erbyn diwedd y flwyddyn. Hyd at wan, mae gennym ni 2 busnes aur, neu lefel copa, 16 ar lefel glaslyn, sef lefel arian, a 7 ar lefel llydaw, sef lefel efydd. Da ni hefyd wedi dechrau ehangu'r cynllun busnes yma i'r sector awyr agored, ac yn mis Hydref, nathon ni cynnal ymgynghoriad a gweithdi, lle bydd parc yn gweithio gyda threfnwyr digwyddiadau cwmnïau antur ac arweinwyr mynydd i drafftio meini prawf ar gyfer fframwaith unigryw ar gyfer y sector yma hefyd. Fydd y fframwaith archwilio yma yn barod erbyn diwedd y flwyddyn, a da ni'n edrych ymlaen i ddechrau archwilio busnesau awyr agored yn y blwyddyn nesaf. Mae'n pwysig hefyd bod ni'n arwain o'r ffrynt fel parc ar y prosiect yma, a da ni wedi bod yn archwilio ein gweithrediadau ein hunan. Da ni efo TICs, canolfannau wybodaeth o gwmpas y parc, a nathon ni archwilio 1,500 o ein llinella stoc sydd ar werth yn y canolfannau hwnnw, a da ni'n targedu gostyngiad o 20% o plastigau unsio oddi ar ein silffoedd erbyn diwedd y flwyddyn yma. Mae holiadur hunan asesiad wedi cael ei anfon allan i'n cyflenwyr i gyd, a mae hwnnw mae croeso i chi, os da chi'n busnes eich hunan, rhannu hwnnw hefyd efo eich darparwyr. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Fel nes i bwyll gyna, nid yn unig plastigau unsio, da ni'n ffocysu ar ond bob math o sbwriel a walla sy'n cael ei adael ar y mynydd. A mae croen banana yw'r myd math o sbwriel a ganfwyd fwyaf ar y mynydd. A mae yn sicr diffyg addysg ar y problem yma. Ac oedden ni eisiau creu rhywbeth unigryw i daclo'r her yma. Felly nath ni cymryd chydig bach o ysbrydoliaeth gan yr arweinydd mynydd Mike Rain. Mae Mike Rain wedi bod yn cynnal ar brofion anffurfiol ar uchder efo wastraff organig ers blynyddoedd. A nathon ni addasu'r syniad yna a creu camera timelapse yn hunan a platfform i'w ddal o i gymryd lluniau bob awr o croen banana ar copa'r mynydd. Mae'r croen wedi bod yna ers 120 o dyddiau. Mae o dal yna. Nath y stori yma dal ddychymyg cyfryngau. Gafodd ei redeg gen Cynhaliwyd BBEC a hefyd ei godi gan y Telegraph, Daily Mail a'r AI hefyd. A nath o dechrau sgwrs diddorol iawn ar-lein gyda 2,000 o defnyddwyr ar yr hafan we y Banana Cam a wedi cael dipyn o ymgysylltu yn digwydd efo'r gystadleuaeth sweepstake i ddyfalu faint fysa'r croen yn bara. Mae hwn, dwi'n meddwl, yn enghraifft da ar sut mae stori hwyl a mympwyol ar fatal penodol iawn a hamdealledig yn gallu cael trawiad. Mae'r ROI, sef yr return of investment, wedi bod yn dda iawn. Nath y platfform costio, a'r camera costio 600 i greu, ond wedi cael drawiad mawr gyda 100,000 o views ar tudalennau y BBEC yn unig. Yn anffodus, mae'r croen wedi gorwesu'r camera. Mae'r camera angen ei drwsio ar hyn o bryd. Mae wedi cael dipyn o battering, swn i ddeud, gen y tywydd, a wedi diodda problemau technegol, ond da ni'n edrych ymlaen i'w drwsio'r erbyn y tymor nesaf a gael ddechrau'r arbrawf yn y Gwanwyn. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Da ni wedi bod yn cydweithio gyda Prifysgol Bangor ers 3 mlynedd, gyda'r athro John Parkinson a'r Ysgol Newid Ymddygiad. Yn blynyddoedd blaenorol, mae myfyrwyr meistr seicoleg wedi bod yn cynnal arolygon, a eleni nath nhw trialu ymyriaeth fyw. Nath nhw penderfynu creu arbrawf seicolegol unigryw a gan defnyddio'r model COM-B sydd yn edrych ar sut mae capability, opportunity a motivation yn drivers of behaviour. Nath y myfyrwyr drafftio sgript a mabwysiadu gan dilyn y model hwn, ac oedd y sgript yn cynnwys cwestiynau agored gyda'r nod o annog ymwelwyr i ymrwymo i fynd â'i sbwriel adre gyda nhw. Nath nhw cydweithio gyda'n wardeiniad gwirfoddol a defnyddio ein fan wybodaeth i chefnogi nhw ar wylod llwybr Watkin. Nath nhw llwyddio i siarad gyda lot fawr o cerddwyr a gael 149 o addewidion ddi-blastig ei arwyddo. Be oedd y canlyniadau? Wel, oedd llwyddiant unfawr anecdotaidd. Nath cerddwyr ddod â bagio sbwriel lawr o'r llwybr ar ôl siarad gyda'r myfyrwyr, ac oedd pobl yn chwilfrydig ar-lein i siarad ar-lein ac yn siarad am y waith oedd y myfyrwyr yn wneud. Wedyn nath y myfyrwyr adrodd yn ôl ar eu cyfyngiadau yn swyddogol yn mis Medi, a nath nhw weld gostyngiad o dros 60% o nifer o eitemau sbwriel yn cael ei ddarganfod ar y llwybr ar dyddiau llebiant yn rhyngweithio ar ymwelwyr. Nathon nhw ffeindio allan pethau oedden ni eisoes yn gwybod yn barod, ond pethau fel bod y rhan fwyaf o sbwriau'n cael ei hel mewn ardaloedd gweithgarwch dynol, fel adeiladau a mewn bagiau creigiau. Nathon nhw ffeindio hefyd bod yna dipyn o derbyniadau parcio o'n peiriannau parcio o gwmpas, a dyn ni'n trafod gyda'n adran eiddo i bontio i derbyniadau digidol hefyd. Da ni wedi defnyddio dull gweithredu Prifysgol Bangor a methodoleg nhw ar gyfer arbrawf pellach, a gafodd ei gynnal yn un o'n meysydd parcio yn diweddar, a da ni'n edrych ymlaen i cydweithio gyda'n wardeiniad gwirfoddol i mabwysiadu'r sgript a'r brofol na y tymor nesaf. Un o'n blaenoreithiau hefyd, sleid nesaf, wel, un o'n blaenoreithiau allweddol leni ydy gwella isadeilydd, fel nes i sôn gyna, mae cyflawniadau dŵr yn pwysig iawn i allu lleihau plastigau einsio yn y parc. Felly mae tapiau dŵr wedi cael ei osod yn ei meysydd parcio Rhydfi, Bont Bethania, Penapas, a mae tap dŵr yn mynd i cael ei osod cyn diwedd y flwyddyn yn Nant Peris hefyd. Mae arwyddion yn cael ei greu ar hyn o bryd, a fydd yna map digidol yn cael ei greu i gyd-fynd ar ymgyrch ail-lenwi yma. Mae ein canolfannau wybodaeth yn cael ei cofrestru fel o'r safoedd ail-lenwi Cymru hefyd, a fydden ni'n gwerthu boteli ail-defnyddio yn ein hwb Penapas i alluogi bobl i ail-lenwi os nad oes gennyn nhw botel yn barod. Mae'r her barhaus gennym ni efo'r adeilad ar y copa Hafod Eryri, ond fyddai dal i wneud waith sgopio gyda cwmnïau peirianneg dŵr yn y dyfodol i weld os fydd hi'n bosib rhoi cyflenwad dŵr yfadwy fewn yn fan o fyd. Mae'r busnesau ddiblastig da ni'n cydweithio gyda wedi bod yn dechrau rhannu'r infograffig, da chi'n gweld yn fan hyn, yn y canol, yn dosbarthu nhw allan gyda ei cadarnhad, all the confirmations, ei cadarnhadadau archeb i ymwelwyr, i allu paratoi ymwelwyr yn well cyn cyrraedd y parc. Sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Be nesaf, felly? Wel, mae yna flwyddyn ar ôl i'r prosiect, mae yna dipyn o ymgyrchoedd i ddanfon. Fydda ni'n parhau ymchwilio Binnovation, sef arloesi o rhan binia, a gweld os fydd hi'n posib cael peiriant reverse vending machine ei osod yn y parc a neu chydig bach o beilot. A da ni'n edrych ymlaen i weld sut daeth y peilot yn Aberhonddu DRS ar un Bryste hefyd i weld os fedrwn ni mabwysiadu wbath yn lleol hefyd. Da ni'n trafod ymgyrch wybodaeth cyhoeddus cost isel ar hyn o bryd gan defnyddio'r dull compi o'n i'n sôn am gyne. Da ni'n gobeithio hefyd sefydlu rhyw fath o shop swap yn yr ardal i alluogi bobl i benthyg gur a gwthio yr agenda holl bwysig o ail-ddefnyddio. Fydden ni'n gweithio ddifrif gyda tyddfeddanwyr a gymeithwyr a gobeithio dod o hyd a arloesi a ffyrdd da i lleihau ei ddefnydd o plastigau unsio yn y sector hwnnw fyd. Fydden ni'n parhau i weithio ym Mhrifysgol Bangor gyda Prifysgol Bangor hefyd, a da ni'n gobeithio cael cadarnhad yn fuan iawn ar prosiect ieuenctid cyffroes iawn yn yr wythnos a nid yma hefyd. Felly, diolch yn fawr, sori bod fi wedi 34 munud dros amser, a byddai'n gobeithio ateb unrhyw gwestiwn sydd gennych chi ar diwedd y sesiwn.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Alec. Mae yna dipyn o cwestiynau wedi dod i fewn i chdi ar y Q&A, felly mae'n siŵr gawn ni cyfle i ymateb iddyn nhw nes ymlaen wan. Trosolwg a diweddariad hynod o defnyddiol i bawb, mae'n siŵr. Diolch am trio cadw at amser. Dyn ni bron yna, so di o ddim yn rhy ffôl o gwbl. Mae yna gynnau pleser i gyflwyno ein siaradwr ola o'r ddiwrnod. Iddon Edward sydd wedi camu fewn ar y funud ola, sydd yn gret. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chdi, Iddon. Pennaeth Polisi Economi Tai a Chymunedau Nghyswllt y Gymraeg efo Llywodraeth Cymru. A mae Iddon yn mynd i sôn am yr prosiect Lysgenhadon diwylliannol i ni. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi, Iddon.
Diolch Angela, a diolch i bawb am y cyfle i rhannu gwybodaeth am y cynllun Lysgenhadon diwylliannol a'r gwaith sydd wedi digwydd hyd yma. Ga hefyd ddiolch i Sarah Jones, nghydweithraig sydd wedi cyflwyno neu wedi paratoi'r cyflwyniad, a dwi'n gobeithio na i ddaioni a hi yn neud y cyflwyniad heddiw gan bod hi wedi methu bod yn gyflwyno bore yma. Gawn ni'r sleid nesaf, plis, Sawel. Yn ystod, i roed y cyd-destun hanesyddol i chi o ran pam bod ni wedi mynd ati i sefydlu Lysgenhadon diwylliannol. Yn ystod y Covid, roedd yna bryder mawr am y galw gynyddol am ailgartrefi a'r effaith o hynny yn ei gael ar gymunedau Cymraeg. Roedd yna bryder hefyd am fforddiadwyedd ac argeiliaeth tai bobl leol. A fel dyn ni'n gwybod, mae ailgartrefi sy'n wag am rhan helaeth o'r flwyddyn yn gallu cael effaith andwyol ar gynaladwyedd cymunedau o ran gwasanaethau lleol. Ac y gwir ydy, dydy tŷ gwag yn cyfrannu dim i gymdeithas. Mae hyn oll yn creu sefyllfa ble mae'n anodd i bobl leol fyw a gweithio yn y cymunedau cawsant eu magu ynddynt. Ac wrth reswm, felly, mae'n cael effaith ar nifer a defnydd y Gymraeg o fewn ein cymunedau Cymraeg ni. Os dim bosib mynd i'r sleid nesaf, Awel. Nath Llywodraeth Cymru gyhoeddi adroddiad ailgartrefi datblygu polisïau newydd yng Nghymru gan Dr Simon Brooks yn mis Mawrth 2021. Ac roedd yr adroddiad yma'n edrych ar y problemau oedd yn gysylltiedig â nifer uchel o ailgartrefi, gan hefyd geisio canfod datosiadau. Roedd yr adroddiad yn cynnwys 12 o argymhellion a fe wnaeth gwneudog newid hinsawdd a gwneudog y Gymraeg ymateb i'r adroddiad yn mis Gorffennaf 2021. A wnaethon nhw ymrwymo i ddefnyddio pwerau sydd gan Llywodraeth Cymru i roi sylw i effaith ailgartrefi ar gymunedau sydd o dwysedd uchel o ailgartrefi a chymunedau Cymraeg. A drwy'r cytundeb cydweithio rhwng Llywodraeth Cymru a Plaid Cymru, ymrwymwyd i gymryd camau radical ar unwaith. Mi wnaethon ni wneud hyn drwy ddatblygu cynllun gweithredu tair haen oedd yn edrych ar becyn o fesura gan gychwyn gyda cymorth i helpu wneud tai yn fwy fforddiadwy i bobl leol. Roedd y fframwaith a system rheoleiddio i edrych ar y maes cynllunio gwlad a thref, a hefyd edrych ar sefydlu system trwyddedu llety gwyliau. Ac yn olaf, roedd perchnogion ailgartrefi a thai gwag i wneud cyfraniad tecach a hynny drwy system drethu. Wnaethon ni hefyd dewis ardal Dwyfor fel ardal beilot i dreialu nifer o'r ymyrraethau. Mae Dwyfor yn ardal ble mae nifer uchel o ailgartrefi, dwi'n meddwl un o'r ardaloedd uchel yng Nghymru, a hefyd yn un o gadarnleoedd y Gymraeg. Mae'r peilot yn bartneriaeth rhwng Llywodraeth Cymru, Cyngor Gwynedd, Grŵp Cynefin, Adra a'r Parc Cenedlaethol. Ar nod i treialu ymyrraethau a bod y peilot yn cael ei werthuso mwyn dysgu gwersi a rhannu arfer da, dim yn unig o fewn ardaloedd eraill o Gymru, ond yn rhwngwladol hefyd. Os dwi'n bosib gael y sleid nesaf, Awel. Fe wnaeth Llywodraeth Cymru hefyd ymrwymo i sefydlu cynllun tai cymunedau Cymraeg, sydd hefyd yn rhan o'r raglen lywodraethu a Llywodraeth bresennol. Cyhoeddwyd drafft o'r cynllun ym mis Tachwedd 2021 a fe wnaethon ni ymgynghori ar y cynnwys, a wnaethon ni dderbyn tua 800 o ymatebion, sef y nifer ucha o ymatebion ar ymgynghoriad ymwneud â'r Gymraeg erioed. Mae'n yn dangos o bosib bod yna ddiddordeb mawr yn y maes yma, a hefyd bobl isio sicrhau bod yn cymunedau Cymraeg ni yn parhau fod yn ffynnu. A dyn cyhoeddwyd y cynllun tai cymunedau Cymraeg ym mis Hydref 2022. Mae'r cynllun yn nodi ymyrraethau a'r camau byddwn yn ei gymryd i gefnogi cymunedau Cymraeg i fynd i'r afal ar heriau socio-economaidd a ieithyddol. Fel da ni wedi clywed eisoes bore yma, mae Cymru yn genedl groesawgar ac rydym am hynny barhau ac rydym yn cydnabod hefyd o twristiaeth yn ddiwydiant pwysig. Da ni am i bobl sy'n symud i mewn i'n cymunedau Cymraeg deimlo yn rhan o fywyd cymdeithasol Cymraeg ac integreiddio'n llawn a dysgu mewn iaith, diwylliant a'n treftadaeth. Elfen gref sy'n ganolog i'r cynllun yw grymuso unigolion a chymunedau a rhoi'r tools mewn ffordd iddyn nhw weithredu bydd y cymunedau a'r iaith Gymraeg. Ti'n bosib gael y sleid nesaf, please. Mae'r cynllun tai cymunedau Cymraeg yn cynnwys nifer o ymyrraethau sy'n dod ynghyd meysydd polisi tai, economi, datblygu cymunedol a chynllunio ieithyddol wrth gwrs. Da ni wedi sefydlu cynllun perthyn sy'n cynnwys partneriaeth gyda cwmpas i helpu cymunedau sefydlu mentra cymdeithasol a thai wedi arwain gan y gymuned. A mae yna ddwy haen i'r cynllun yma, sef cyngor a cefnogaeth arbenigol sydd yn cael ei roi drwy cwmpas eto a drwy dwy fenter cydweithredol llwyddiannus, sef Planed yn y de orllewin a Dolan yn y gogledd orllewin. Da ni hefyd yn darparu cynllun grant bach a newydd lansio ail rownd o ddaraniadau grant i grwpiau cymunedol sydd yn gallu ymgeisio am hyd at 12,500 i helpu nhw ac i adeiladu cymhwysedd i ddatblygu mentra cydweithredol newydd. Mae cynlluniau hefyd ar y gweill i gynnal grŵp lliwio asiantaethau eiddo a rhanddeiliad. A da ni hefyd am sefydlu cynllun cyfle teg, sef cynllun cynllun ydi o i helpu sicrhau bod bobl leol yn cael mynediad i'r farchnadau yn lleol. Yn ystod Steddfod Tregaron flwyddyn dwytha, mi nath y Gweinidog y Gymraeg hefyd sefydlu Comisiwn Cymunedau Cymraeg. Nod yr comisiwn di sicrhau bod y Gymraeg yn parhau fel iaith gymunedol a hynny yn ei chadarnleoedd. A mi nath y comisiwn gyhoeddi papur safbwynt yn ystod Steddfod yr Urdd eleni a bydd y comisiwn yn cyhoeddi hadroddiad llawn yn mis Awst flwyddyn nesaf yn Steddfod Pontypridd. Rydym wedi cynnal ymchwil i weld pam, pryd, mae bobl hefyd yn newid enwa ar eu tai mwyn adnabod pwy yw'r chwaraewr allweddol yn y maes i ddylanwadu a sicrhau sut da ni yn addysgu bobl o gwerth enw Cymraeg traddodiadol ar eiddo. Rydym hefyd wedi ymrwymo i sefydlu cynllun Llysgenhadon diwylliannol, a hynny'n seiliedig ar brofiad Lysgenhadon Cymru, cynllun eco amgueddfa ym Mhen Llŷn a phen campwyr iaith sydd yn gweithredol yn Ynys Môn. Fel nes i sôn ynghynt, roedd yr ymgynghoriad wnaethon ni ar y cynllun tai cymunedau Cymraeg yn galw am gwrs a sefydlu rhwydwaith o Lysgenhadon diwylliannol cymunedol. O'r dadansoddiad yr ymatebion, roedd 3 prif lenoriaeth wedi amlygu. Yn gyntaf, y dylai Lysgenhadon diwylliannol gael ei hyfforddi yn arbenigol ar sut i gyflwyno gwybodaeth am y Gymraeg, ein hanes, ein diwylliant, a hynny mewn ffordd sy'n berthnasol i'w cymuned a chymdeithas leol. Nath ymateb awgrymu hefyd y dylsa'r cwrs gael ei archredu a bod yr hyfforddiant yn un safonol. Pwysleisiwyd y dylai rôl y Lysgenhadon diwylliannol fod yn un gwirfoddol. A hefyd amlygwyd byddai'n feteisiol creu map byw ar-lein lle gallu dod o hyd i'r ardaloedd lle mae'r Lysgenhadon diwylliannol yn gweithio ynddo. Byddwn ni edrych ar wahanol opsiynau, ond yn meddwl mae'r platfform yma, sef y Lysgenhadon Cymru, oedd y model gorau ar gyfer y math yma o gwrs. A dwi'n diolch i Cadwyn Clwyd, Cyngor Sir Ddinbych a Pharc Cenedlaethol am eu cefnogaeth ac arweiniad i helpu ni wireddu hyn. Dwi'n bosib gael y sleid nesaf, a wel, please. Da ni felly wedi ymrwymo i sefydlu rhwydwaith y Lysgenhadon diwylliannol mwyn mynd ati yn rhagweithiol i hyrwyddo ein diwylliant, ein treftadaeth a'r iaith Gymraeg, yn ganolog i hyn i gyd wrth gwrs. Rydym am groesawu a chefnogi pobl sydd yn ymgartrefu yn ein cymunedau ac gwneud yn siŵr bod ni'n integreiddio yn llawn i fywyd cymdeithasol yr ardaloedd hynny. Da ni hefyd yn cynnig cefnogi a chynnig cefnogaeth ac arweiniad i fusnesau sydd yn dod i gyswllt ymwelwyr a chwsmeriad yn gyffredinol ynglŷn â phwysigrwydd y Gymraeg, ein diwylliant a'n treftadaeth. Bydd hefyd yn gweithio yn ein cymunedau gan dylanwadu ar bobl sydd eisoes yn byw yn y cymunedau hyn o ran pwysleisio pwysigrwydd y Gymraeg a chynaladwyedd ein cymunedau Cymraeg. Os yw'n cael sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Ein nod yw i greu a chefnogi y Lysgenhadon diwylliannol drwy ddatblygu cyfres o fediwla bydd yn cynnwys gwybodaeth berthnasol am fywyd yn ein cymunedau Cymraeg a hynny ar blatfform digidol. Rydym am rymuso unigolion i'w cymhwyso i fod yn Lysgenhad diwylliannol mwyn gallu dangos a rhannu gwybodaeth am bwysigrwydd y Gymraeg fel iaith gymunedol fyw. Da ni am ddatblygu sgiliau i helpu bobl integreiddio i'w cymunedau newydd ac i groesawu ymwelwyr a chodi eu hymwybyddiaeth am ein treftadaeth, ein diwylliant a'n iaith wrth gwrs. Ein nod hefyd i cefnogi gwaith grwpiau cymunedol sydd eisoes yn bodoli a hefyd ein partneriad craidd megis yr Urdd, Clybiau Ffermwyr Ifanc, Mudiad Meithrin a'r Mentra Iaith. Sleid nesaf, please. Da ni wedi caffael profiad ac arbenigedd a da'n lwcus iawn bod wedi cytuno i wneud y gwaith yma, sef Dr Dylan Foster Evans, sydd yn bennaeth Ysgol y Gymraeg ym Mhrifysgol Caerdydd, i awduro y cynnwys ar ein rhan. Bydd yna 2 lefel i'r cynllun ac mae rhai o'ch eisoes yn ymwybodol o hyn. Bydd yr adnodd yn cyffwrdd ar wahanol elfennau sydd yn berthnasol i'r Gymraeg a'n diwylliant unigryw. Fel rhan o'r pecyn o ddod yn Lysgenhad diwylliannol, byddwn nhw'n gwobrwyo gyda bothodyn tysysgrif, sticer ffenest a hefyd yn cynnig cefnogaeth drwy wasanaeth rhad ac am ddim helo blod. Gair sleid nesaf, please. O ran y cynnwys ei hun, rydym bron yn barod i lansio'r lefel lefydd ac yn gobeithio byddwn ni'n gallu gwneud hynny dechrau y flwyddyn newydd. Bydd modiwl 1 yn edrych ar ble ddaeth y Gymraeg a beth yw ei hoed, ac pwysleisio bod y Gymraeg yn iaith fyw. Sut wnaeth y Gymraeg ddatblygu, a hefyd o ran gofyn y cwestiwn mae pawb yn gofyn, ai y Gymraeg yw'r iaith hynaf yn Ewrop. Bydd modiwl 2 yn codi ymwybyddiaeth am y Gymraeg drwy rannu gwybodaeth am weld a clywed y Gymraeg, deall rôl y Gymraeg yn y byd cyfoes heddiw a rôl y Lysgenhadon yn hyn i gyd. Bydd modiwl 3, sef addysg cyfrwng Cymraeg, yn rhannu profiadau o ddysgu drwy gyfrwng y Gymraeg a hefyd yn rhannu'r hanes materion sydd wedi ceisio llytheirio y Gymraeg megis y Welsh Not. Ac yn olaf, yn rhoi dadansoddiad o sefyllfa y Gymraeg heddiw. Ac yn sicr i ddarganfod mwy am y cynllun ac i ddilyn y gwaith yma, mae croeso chi ddilyn yn rhwydweithiau cymdeithasol ni o dan y teitl Cymraeg 2050. Sga'r sleid nesaf, please, Awel. Mae cynnwys o wobr arian ac air yn cael ei dylunio ar hyn o bryd fel bydd y Lysgenhad yn teimlo ei bod yn dilyn y saith a bod dilyniant o un modiwl i'r llall. A dyn y sleid nesaf, please. Y gobaith yw bydd bobl yn teimlo'n gyfforddus gyda'r wybodaeth mae'n tynnu i dderbyn i hyrwyddo'r Gymraeg a menteision. Da ni am gynyddu ymwybyddiaeth am ein hanes a'n diwylliant gan annog unigolion i fod yn hyderus i gyflwyno gwybodaeth a dylanwadu yn ein cymunedau. Mae llwyddiant y cynllun yn wylo'r Lysgenhadon yn nod i'w gosod sylfaen ar gyfer unigolion a maes o law byddwn yn cysylltu yn rheolaidd gyda'r Lysgenhadon gan ddod â nhw ynghyd a cheisio cael ei gyfrannu waith ein partneriad bydd ein cymunedau a'r iaith Gymraeg. A wedyn, yn ola, gael jyst bachu ar y cyfle i ddiolch i chi am gael bod yn rhan o'r rhwydwaith ac yn gwerthfawrogi y cyngor arweiniad a'r gefnogaeth yn ystod y daith yma. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch yn fawr iawn Iddon, diddorol iawn. Mae yna cwestiwn sydd wedi dod i fewn ac o'n i'n mynd i ofyn yn union yr un fath. Ydy'r rhaglen yma yn rhan o Llysgennad Cymru neu ydy o tra wahanol ar y foment? Neu ydy o'r gael trwy'r un platfform ni? Dach chi'n gwybod?
Yndi, y gobaith ydy bydd o'n rhan o'r platfform a da ni wedi bod yn trafod efo partneriad i alluogi hynny ddigwydd a mae'r testyn mwy na lai yn barod ond bod yna fwy o waith technegol i roed ac yn barod i roed ar y platfform yna.
O, bendigedig, gret. So fydd pawb sydd yn Llysgennad Cymru yn barod yn gallu medru yn y cwrs yma hefyd sydd yn gret. Mae'n siŵr achos mae yna dipyn o sylwadau wedi dod i fewn a'n deud bod yn swnio'n diddorol iawn. Diolch yn fawr iawn, a cyfle, ella os dyn ni'n stopio rhannu, Awel, cyfle i pawb sydd wedi siarad dod yn ôl ar y sgrin. Ella mae jyst yn bwysig i ni hefyd yn jyst i ddeud nath yr cwrs yma, wrth gwrs, nath yr rhaglen yma cychwyn yn Sir Dinbych, a dwi'n gobeithio mae Nici yma yn gallu dod yn ôl ar y sgrin. Dwi'n siŵr os ti eisiau deud rhywbeth, Nici, ond Nick Williams sydd yma, swyddog marchnata twristiaeth a digwyddiadau yn awdurdod Sir Dinbych. A rili bach o babi i Nici ydi hyn. Hi nath cychwyn y holl rhaglen yma. A dyn ni gyd rili wedi dysgu gen ti, Nici, a dysgu y pethau da ac yn ddrwg ellai i wneud a y profiad gawsoch chi setio hyn i gyd i fyny. Felly mae Nici yma a hefyd mae Rachel Simpson yma o y cwmni Artichoke a nath Nici a Rachel gweithio efo'i gilydd i sefydlu y rhaglen cyntaf oedd o'r gael trwy Sir Dinbych a wedyn nath Nici cysylltu efo ni i gyd ac ni yn diolchgar iawn o gallu wedi dod yn rhan o'r cynllun yma ac os dwi'n iawn i ddeud, Nici, mae yna hefyd y Bannau Brycheiniog sydd yn rhan o'r cynllun wrth gwrs. Mae Cyngor Conwy, Gwynedd, Ynys Môn, Sir Fflint, Wrexham, Ceredigion a Sir Gaerfyrddin hefyd wedi dod yn rhan o'r cynllun wwan. Ac wrth gwrs Llywodraeth Cymru fel dyn ni'n glywed hefyd. Felly mae o di mynd o nerth i nerth. So dwi'n mynd siŵr, Nici, os ti eisiau deud rhywbeth o gwbl.
Diolch, Angela. Just to say, I'm overwhelmed really that this has happened today. Going back to 2019, really, when it started in Denbighshire and having those initial chats with Rachel in Artichoke and saying, can we make this happen? So to get to this point now where I think we've got about 2,700 bronze ambassadors, and to have the very first Wales Ambassador Week is overwhelming and just crazy. So I'm just thankful for everyone and the partners and the ambassadors that have come today. Really grateful, and let's just keep on trucking, as they said, keep on growing, keep on hopefully during this week we can attract a few more partners on board and some more ambassadors. That'd be great. So just diolch yn fawr.
Thank you, Nici. Yeah, we're all extremely grateful to you for your guidance through this process as well. It's been wonderful, and it's, as you said, it's amazing to see so many people even just here today as well on this webinar. As I mentioned, I think all of you saw there were 75 participants today, which is brilliant to see so many people interested in all of the things that are going on. A few of the questions that have come in, there are some quite specific ones. I think everyone on the panel has had a quick chance to look through those. So we'll leave those to the various people to get in touch with the person who's asked, just to pass on the very specific information. But there are possibly a couple that we can pick up on. Alec, there are a few for you here. There's a question about being able to access the questionnaire about plastic-free options with suppliers. And also somebody who took part in the real three peaks with the litter pick, which we're really grateful to you, Julia, for being part of that. Thank you for your question as well. Asking about businesses in the area and on the mountain being part of the scheme. And then also there's a question about, are there any plastic-free badges available or car stickers? So there's a couple there for you to answer, Alec, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll start with the one about the questionnaire. I can send that to you separately, Claire, if you'd like. It's not actually hosted on our website at the moment, but it is a link, a Microsoft form link that is open and available to be shared. So I can send that on to you. The next question was about the real three pinks. Yeah, thank you, Julia. I also took part in that day. It was pretty shocked by the number of plastic bottles honoured with her. I have audited Hawdyrri, so the Snowdon Mountain Railway building, and they have committed to starting on this plastic-free journey with us. They've not yet been accredited, but they are hoping to become level Llydaw or bronze by next year. And then the question about, we do have, I have some patches, some plastic-free patches, and we also have plastic-free stickers, and those can be awarded for businesses that join on the scheme with us. They're not for sale, unfortunately, and we do have a slightly limited number, but if you have a very specific request, maybe you can contact me via email about those.
Yeah, grêt, diolch yn fawr, Alec. A jyst i ddeud I pawb really bydd y slides wel, mae'r webina'n cael ei recordio, felly fyddwn ni'n anfon y link allan I pawb ar ôl i'r webinar orffen, ac hefyd fydd y slides gan pawb pob un sydd wedi cyflwyno ar gael hefyd. Mae yna dipyn o bobl wedi ofyn, yn enwedig I dy gyflwyniad di, Lucy, am yr adnoddau gan Croeso Cymru. Mae yna dipyn o bobl wedi ofyn am copies o heina, felly nawn ni wneud yn siŵr bod pawb yn cael copi o pob dim. Lucy, gan bod fi'n siarad I chdi, I'll just ask the question in the language it's been put down, but there are a few suggestions, I think, as well here. One of them, I'm not sure if you've seen the comment about the in South Korea hosting the Esports League of Legends.
Yes, it's interesting. Actually, as I say, the division we're in, Cadw and Creative Wales are partner across our division, and Creative Wales put money into the Wales Esports fraternity last year to create a league, because once you're in a league, you can start competing internationally. So, but yeah, I take the point completely, and obviously I cover so many slides when I talk, and I'm a fast talker, obviously. But the work we're doing in the US, particularly at the moment with Expedia, you'll see that we're leading with things like Land of Legends and castles, all of those elements, and Dragon, obviously, our brand. Draig is our brand, our Cymru Wales brand. So yeah, but really interesting points. The esports, huge growth. As there is, and I don't want to get down a rabbit hole, but with AI and things like Roblox, where you see countries like South Africa creating gaming environments now for children to influence them to get parents to book travel. So yeah, it's a fast moving arena. The whole digital and esports is similar.
Wow. Whole new world for me, but yeah, something I need to understand. And also, just while you're there, Lucy, there's one other question about ADDO linking up with volunteering opportunities, and that's actually a question that we get a lot as a national park about how people can give back a bit more and volunteer. And is that something that Visit Wales are looking into?
When we originated ADDO, as I say, it was meant to be really a 6-week campaign to just help people phase back out of lockdown and be responsible visitors. But it's there for good now for us. And the way it was designed, we actually worked closely with all the national parks and lots of the local authorities when we came up with ADDO, and it's designed that it will complement other initiatives going on. So as such, Snowdonia Society, it's very, very complementary to the ethos behind the way that they operate. So, but no, nothing specific. We try not to be very, very prescriptive. You know, we want people to embrace it as a principle. And actually, there's so much work being done in Wales that sums up that spirit of Addo and the Wales Promise.
Yeah. It's certainly, as you mentioned about the sustainability kind of recognition as well, it's certainly questions that we get asked about how can you give a little bit more back when you're visiting a place as well. I wonder if Christine and Steve, if you have a similar experience, do people ask you those sorts of questions and how they can also get a little bit more involved when they're on your tours?
From my side, most of my visits are from outside Wales, so I don't get that conversation very often, really, with my experience.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, obviously they're coming to learn all of the amazing information that you're providing to them. Yeah, and it's on a set tour. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Somebody's just asked a question about plastic bottles with the cruise ship guests coming on coaches. So yes, we do experience that, and any that are left behind, the coach company will be recycling, and obviously in line with the new regulations about recycling business waste. So happy to support that. But I think increasingly as well, like we all are, people are starting to use reusable water bottles, and we see that amongst our guests as well. So and also the ground handler called Excursions Limited, that one that looks after all the Viking cruise ship calls. We've had their briefing for 2024, and for the first time there's a huge chunk in there about working sustainably, you know, going to visit places where tours are appropriate, and you know, all in that for well-being and being positive through tourism. So that's a really good move from there.
Wonderful. Diolch yn fawr, Christine. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, go on, Lucy.
I was going to say, I mean, quite a few of the things that have come up, particularly things like refill. Refill is something that we are very proud of and push for, and try and give that a marketing dimension to it as well. So we're telling people before they choose Wales, it's one of those reasons that makes people, you know, make people feel better about doing the right thing when they get here. And there's quite a bit of market demand research we've done in the last year, looking at specifically trigger points for people when it comes to sustainability. And increasingly, each time we do it, then more and more people are looking for businesses that locally source produce, things like refill points being available, that they're looking for specific actions that they can, and it is definitely starting to influence, with particular audiences, influence a decision on where they travel.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly noticed that ourselves with the kinds of inquiries that we're getting. Okay, thank you so much for that. Maybe this one's for you, Yvonne. There's a question here. If you can recommend any low-cost methods of increasing our Welsh language skills. Wel, un peth swn i ddeud ydy i cwblhau'r cyrsiau yma i gyd, achos mae bron pob un ohonyn nhw efo elfen o Gymraeg a bywiogrwydd y iaith Gymraeg yn nhw. Felly, a mae siŵr bod yr un dych chi wedi creu hefyd yn union yr un fath yn dydy, ond ie, na i toslwyddo chdi ateb y cwestiwn.
Yndi, wel, mae gennym ni'r ganolfan dysgu genedlaethol, a mae gennym nhw nifer o gyrsiau, ac yn trio sicrhau bod yna gwrs a dant bawb. Wedyn, mi'n rhoi link i'r ganolfan yn y chat neu i ateb y cwestiwn, lle mae'n bosib cysylltu efo ganolfan lleol i gael gwybod am gyrsiau. Ond dwi'n meddwl ers Covid, da ni wedi sylweddoli, wel, da ni wedi gweld bod yn hanesyddol y cyrsiau Cymraeg yn cael ei dysgu mewn canolfannau ar amser a cyfnod penodol a lleoliad penodol, ond erbyn hyn maen nhw ar gael ar-lein neu bob math o ddulliau, a wedyn, ie, neu gynnwys y link a mae'n bosib wedyn cael trafodaeth bellach efo'r ganolfan.
Ie, mae'n digon o gefnogaeth does ar gael os mae pobl yn isio dysgu'r Gymraeg yn amlwg. Iawn, dwi ddim yn gweld, mae yna lot o sylwadau penodol a diolch yn fawr iawn. Lot o pobl yn dweud bod nhw wedi mwynhau cyrsiau bod nhw wedi wneud ar-lein yn barod ac hefyd awgrymiadau i ni i gyd. Felly diolch yn fawr iawn. Na i casglu hefyd pob un o'r sylwadau sydd wedi dod i fewn ar y Q&A. Ond dwi'n meddwl bod ni wedi ateb rhan mwy o'r cwestiynau sydd yna. Ac dyn ni'n 5 munud o flaen llaw, felly mae hwnna'n amazing. Ond mi allai jyst diolch i Awel. Dyn ni wedi glywed enw Awel dipyn yn ystod heddiw, ond does neb wedi gweld hi eto. Diolch yn fawr i Awel am cynorthwyo ni gyd trwy pob dim heddiw a roed y slides nesaf ac yn neud yn siŵr bod pawb wedi gallu rhoi ei gyflwyniadaeth i gilydd mewn digon o amser ar gyfer y sesiwn heddiw. Ac hefyd wrth gwrs i'r gyfieithu sydd yn gweithio yn hynod o galed yn pob un digwyddiad fel hyn. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi hefyd. Felly, na i diolch i chi gyd. Diolch i'r siaradwyr diddorol iawn am ddod heddiw. Fel dyn ni gyd wedi deud, dyn ni'n mor balch i fod yn rhan o'r cynllun yma, rhan o'r wythnos yma, a gobeithio nawn ni gweld chi eto yn ystod yr wythnos mewn y ddigwyddiadau arall, yr wythnos Llysgenhadon Cymru cyntaf, yn hanes gawn ni gael o fo, yes? So the first one in history, why not? And hopefully we'll see you again at some point, some of the other events going on this week. Diolch yn fawr iawn i chi.